Moonlight speared through the ancient canopy, casting long, skeletal shadows that danced on the forest floor. Nyx, a wisp of a girl with eyes the color of moss, tiptoed deeper, the crunch of fallen leaves a whisper in the stillness. Tonight wasn't about common herbs. Tonight, she craved the elusive moon bloom, a flower said to bloom only under the full moon's unfiltered gaze. Legend whispered it held potent healing properties, something desperately needed by her ailing grandmother. Suddenly, a strangled cry pierced the night, a sound that sent shivers skittering down her spine. It wasn't the rustle of a startled deer or the screech of an owl. This held a primal fear, a raw pain that resonated in the very air. Curiosity warred with caution, but Nyx, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm, couldn't ignore it. With a deep breath, she followed the sound, the dense foliage parting before her with an unsettling ease. The clearing that unfolded before her was bathed in an eerie, ethereal glow. A magnificent creature stood there, its coat shimmering like moonlight captured in fur. A unicorn. But this wasn't a creature of dreams. A crimson stain marred its flank, and its horn, the stuff of legend, was fractured and dull. As their eyes met, the world dissolved into a silent scream. This wasn't a creature of myth, it was a creature of pain. And somehow, Nyx knew, she was the only one who could help. Her trembling hands reached into her satchel, feeling the familiar shapes of her herbs. She approached Lumina, her footsteps as soft as a leaf's descent. The unicorn's eyes, a pool of ancient wisdom, searched hers, and in that moment, a bond grew between them, unspoken yet unbreakable. Gently, she cradled the animal's head, whispering soothing words, and applied the herbs to the gash. Lumina's pain seeped into her, but she didn't flinch. The warmth of the unicorn's breath against her cheek was a testament to their shared burden. As the potent herbs worked their magic, the air grew thick with an unseen tension. Lumina's eyes grew distant, her breathing shallow. The glow around them grew brighter, and the trees leaned in, as if eager to listen. Through this strange bond, Nyx saw images, felt emotions, of a darkness spreading like a disease through the forest. The ruin, a place forbidden by the village elders, was the heart of this malevolent force. It had to be stopped. With a snort, Lumina pulled away, the light in her eyes fading. She stood tall, the strength of the forest seeming to pulse within her. It was clear she understood the gravity of their quest. As the images of corruption receded, the unicorn bent her head, nudging Nyx's hand with a gesture that was both a plea and a promise. They would face this darkness together. The clearing grew darker as the moon dipped below the horizon, but the resolve in Lumina's gaze was a beacon that outshone any star. The adventure was set in motion, a quest to save not just the forest, but the very essence of the world they called home. Nyx took a moment to gather her thoughts, her heart racing from the sudden revelation. The village had always felt safe, but now she knew the truth. It was time to break the chains of ignorance and embrace the wild. She looked up at Lumina, her eyes shimmering with determination. "We'll do this," she murmured, stroking the unicorn's velvety muzzle. "We'll find the ruin and heal the land." The journey to the ruin was fraught with danger. Each step deeper into the forest revealed more of the decay that had taken hold. Once vibrant flora now drooped, their leaves tinged with a sickly gray. The animals that had once greeted her with cheerful chirps and rustling branches now lay still and silent, their spirits drained by the malevolent presence. The air itself grew thick and oppressive, a palpable heaviness that seemed to cling to their very souls. Yet, with every challenge, their bond grew stronger, a silent communication that guided them through the twisted paths. Days turned into nights, and the moon grew from a slender sliver to a swollen orb. They encountered beasts twisted by the corruption, their eyes gleaming with a hunger that was not of this world. But Lumina, her horn now showing signs of repair, radiated a light that pushed back the shadows. With each encounter, Nyx's herbal knowledge proved invaluable, not just in healing Lumina, but in crafting concoctions to ward off the corrupted creatures. They became an unstoppable force, a beacon of hope in the crumbling landscape. The ruin loomed ahead, a jagged silhouette against the moonlit sky. Its stones, once gleaming with the magic of a bygone age, were now stained with the very darkness they sought to destroy. The air was thick with malevolence, a tangible presence that seemed to whisper threats and doubt. But Nyx and Lumina were undeterred. As they approached, the ground trembled, a warning from the earth itself. Yet they stepped forward, the unicorn's horn glowing brighter with each step, and Nyx's hand tightening on her bag of herbs, ready to face whatever lay within. The entrance to the ruin was a gaping maw, a mouth that promised to swallow them whole. But as they stepped through, the forest's whispers grew louder, urging them on. The walls of the ancient structure pulsed with a sickly energy, the very air vibrating with the corruption's power. The duo moved cautiously, their eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of the evil that dwelt within. The journey had been long, but they were ready. The fate of the forest rested on their shoulders, and they would not fail. In the heart of the ruin, they found a chamber where the darkness was thickest. A foul odor permeated the air, a scent of decay and despair. At the center stood an altar, blackened and ominous, its surface etched with symbols that made Nyx's skin crawl. Upon it lay a crystal, pulsing with the same malevolent energy that had been sapping the life from the forest. It was the source of the corruption, a heart of darkness that had to be excised. With a fierce determination, Nyx reached into her satchel, her hands shaking as she selected the most potent herbs she had. She knew the risk. This was no ordinary healing. This was a battle for the soul of the forest. Lumina's horn glowed brighter, a beacon of purity in the abyss. The unicorn stepped forward, her eyes locked on the crystal, and Nyx could feel the power building between them. They were one, bound by a force greater than either could have imagined. The moment Lumina's horn made contact with the crystal, the room erupted in a cacophony of sound and light. The crystal screamed, a sound that pierced Nyx's very core. The walls cracked, and the air grew colder, the corruption fighting back with all its might. But Lumina's light grew stronger, suffusing the chamber with a gentle warmth that seemed to push back the shadows. The crystal, once a beacon of evil, now shimmered with the promise of restoration. The final moments were a blur of color and sound. The crystal shattered, releasing a burst of energy that sent them flying back. When the dust settled, the ruin was silent once more, the air clean and crisp. The bond between them burned brighter than ever before, a connection that could not be severed. They had done it. The forest would live again, its heart beating strong and true. Exhausted but triumphant, they emerged from the ruin into the moonlit night. The forest, though scarred, was already beginning to heal. The leaves of the trees whispered their thanks, and the animals stirred, their spirits revitalized. The journey ahead was far from over, but for now, they had bought precious time. The tale of the girl and the unicorn who had faced the darkness and won would echo through the woods, inspiring hope in those who had almost forgotten it. Their steps were weary, but their hearts were light as they made their way back to the village. The dawn would soon break, bringing with it the promise of a new day. And as the first rays of sunlight kissed the treetops, the forest responded with a symphony of life, the chorus of a world reborn. They had found each other in the depths of the night, and together, they had turned the tide of despair. The adventure had just begun, and the whispers of the trees held secrets yet to be uncovered. But for now, they had earned their rest, the weight of their victory a warm blanket that enveloped them as they disappeared into the embrace of the healing woods. Word of their deeds spread like wildfire through the village. The elders, once skeptical, now regarded Nyx with a mix of awe and reverence. Her grandmother, her strength restored by the essence of the moon loom, stood proudly beside her, her eyes gleaming with a newfound respect. The villagers gathered around Lumina, their hands reaching out to touch the unicorn's gleaming coat, seeking solace in the light she brought. Stories of their quest were shared around the fire, the flames casting flickering shadows on the faces of the listeners, who hung on every word. But Nyx knew that their triumph was not complete. The ruin's corruption had been vanquished, but the source of the malevolence remained a mystery. The whispers of the forest grew more insistent, hinting at ancient battles and forgotten champion who had once held the balance. The quest to understand the full extent of the danger had only just begun. Her eyes met Lumina's, and she knew that their bond was not just one of friendship, but of destiny. Together, they would uncover the truth and protect the lands they called home. The following weeks passed in a flurry of preparation. The village, united by hope, worked tirelessly to repair the damage done by the corruption. With Lumina's help, Nyx continued to learn the ways of the unicorns, the ancient wisdom that had been lost to time. They trained together, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. And as the forest slowly regained its vibrancy, so too did the whispers of their fate grow clearer. There was more to be done, more to be learned. The ruin was but a gateway to a larger world, one that needed them to stand as champion against the shadows that threatened to consume it. With a final embrace, they set out once more into the woods, their hearts bound by the promise of a future filled with adventure and discovery. The forest had chosen them, and they would not shy away from the challenges ahead. Each step was a declaration of their intent, a silent vow to the earth beneath their hooves and the sky above their heads. The story of Nyx and Lumina had only just begun to unfold, a tale of friendship, courage, and the unyielding spirit of those who dared to stand against the dark. And as they disappeared into the heart of the forest, the whispers grew quieter, replaced by the steady beat of hoof and foot, the harmony of two souls dancing through the leaves, forever entwined in the eternal ballet of the natural world. The path they followed was not one of ease, but of trials and tribulations that tested their resolve. They encountered ancient champions, spirits of the land whose eyes held the weight of centuries, who spoke of a time when unicorns roamed free and the balance was maintained by the whispers of the forest. These champions bestowed upon them gifts, relics of power that would aid them in their quest. A staff for Nyx, carved from the very essence of the moonbloom tree, and a necklace for Lumina, crafted from the tears of a long-lost goddess, which amplified her natural glow and purified the corrupted lands they encountered. Together, they faced creatures of the night, beasts twisted by the very same darkness they sought to eradicate. Each battle was a dance of light and shadow, a symphony of clashing wills that echoed through the trees. The forest whispered advice, guiding their actions, and with every victory, the corruption retreated further, allowing the green tendrils of life to reclaim their rightful place. The villagers watched from afar, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and admiration, as the unicorn and her human companion grew into legend, a symbol of hope in the face of the unknown. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they stumbled upon a hidden glade where the whispers grew into a crescendo. There, they discovered an ancient tome, buried beneath a tangle of vines. It spoke of the great eclipse, an event that would soon shroud the land in darkness, and with it, the potential for the corruption to rise again. The prophecy was clear. Only the light of the unicorns could banish the shadow that threatened to consume all. With trembling hands, Nyx opened the book, and the words seemed to leap off the pages, weaving themselves into the very fabric of her soul. The knowledge they sought was vast, a tapestry of lore and spells that would take months, perhaps years, to unravel. But time was a luxury they didn't have. The eclipse grew closer with each tick of the clock, the days growing shorter, the nights longer and more foreboding. The forest whispered of ancient battles and the sacrifice of those who had come before them. It spoke of a time when unicorns had been many, and the forest had thrived under their protection. Now, it was up to them to restore that balance, to become the champions the world needed. As they studied the tome, Lumina's horn grew stronger, her glow more radiant. The very air around them seemed to hum with potential, a promise of power that was both terrifying and exhilarating. They knew that the path ahead was fraught with danger, that the shadows would not rest until they had claimed the forest for their own. But Nyx and Lumina were not easily deterred. With each other they had found strength, a bond that transcended species and time. And so, with the first stars of the evening peeking through the canopy, they made their pact. They would train, they would learn, they would grow, and when the time came, they would stand as the last line of defense against the encroaching night. The forest watched over them, its whispers now a chant of encouragement, as the unicorn and her herbalist apprentice embraced their destiny. For in the heart of every myth, there lies a kernel of truth, and in the heart of this forest, a legend was about to be born. The days grew shorter, the nights more menacing. The shadows grew bolder, reaching out with icy fingers to claim what little light remained. Yet, within the village, a warmth had returned. The crops grew stronger, the animals more plentiful, and the people's spirits lifted. The whispers of their success had spread, and hope grew like the shoots of spring. But the whispers also carried a warning: the great eclipse was approaching, and with it, the ultimate battle for the soul of the forest. Under the watchful eyes of the ancient champion, Nyx and Lumina honed their skills. The staff in Nyx's hand grew as natural to her as the herbs she had once tended. Its power grew with her understanding of the forest's rhythms, and together, they practiced spells that had been lost to time. Lumina's horn, once a symbol of her pain, now shone like a beacon, casting out the darkness with each pulse of her heart. They were no longer just two solitary souls, they were the embodiment of the forest's will to survive. As the moon grew fuller, the whispers grew more urgent. The champions grew restless, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. The night of the eclipse was almost upon them, and with it, the final confrontation. The air grew thick with tension, the very fabric of the world seeming to stretch and thin. Yet, as they stood on the precipice of darkness, Nyx and Lumina felt ready. They had faced their fears, embraced their destinies, and forged a bond that could not be broken. The night of the lunar eclipse arrived, the moon a crimson eye in the sky, swallowed by shadow. The forest held its breath, waiting for the battle to come. Together they stood before the ruin, the tome open at their feet, its pages fluttering with the promise of power. The air grew colder, the shadows grew thicker, and from the depths of the night, the corrupted creatures emerged, drawn by the scent of the unicorn's light. But Nyx and Lumina were not afraid. They had become one with the forest, and together, they would fight for its survival. With a cry that echoed through the trees, Lumina charged, her horn a spear of pure, radiant light. Nyx followed, her staff a conduit for the moon's power, casting spells that illuminated the night. The battle was fierce, a clash of light and dark that shook the very earth beneath them. But with each step, the forest responded, its spirits joining the fray, bolstering their strength. The champions watched, their ancient eyes gleaming with pride. The whispers grew into a roar, a chorus of voices that seemed to shake the very stars from the sky. The corrupted beasts fell back, unable to withstand the onslaught of light and life. The ruin itself trembled, its foundations cracking as the purity of the unicorn's light pierced its very core. The crystal chamber, once a heart of darkness, now pulsed with the vibrant energy of the forest reborn. The final moments of the eclipse approached, the shadow poised to devour the last sliver of moon. The air grew colder, the whispers grew silent. It was now or never. With a final surge of power, Nyx and Lumina focused their combined might into the heart of the shadow, a beacon of hope in the abyss. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath, the very essence of nature hanging in the balance. The shadow recoiled, screaming in fury as it was pushed back. The moon emerged from the eclipse, a gleaming crescent in the night sky. The light grew, and with it, the power of the unicorn's horn. The darkness retreated, and the forest burst into bloom, the whispers becoming a triumphant shout. They had done it. They had restored the balance, saved their home from the jaws of oblivion. Exhausted but alive, they stood in the aftermath of battle, the ruin a crumbling testament to the power of light. The champions gathered around them, their eyes filled with gratitude. They had proven themselves worthy of the title. Champions of the forest. The whispers grew softer now, a gentle lullaby that promised peace and protection. As the first rays of dawn kissed the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, a sense of peace settled over the forest. The air hummed with renewed life, the whispers carrying a melody of gratitude. Nyx and Lumina emerged from the ruins, their bodies weary but their spirits soaring. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, their bond forged in the crucible of battle. News of their triumph spread like wildfire through the village. The once skeptical elders bowed their heads in respect, hailing them as heroes. A grand celebration was held, a joyous feast under the boughs of the oldest oak tree. Laughter filled the air, a stark contrast to the silence that had gripped the village for so long. Yet, amidst the revelry, a quiet understanding passed between Nyx and Lumina. The forest was safe, for now. But the whispers never truly ceased. They spoke of a vast world beyond their borders, a world where other forests may be facing similar threats. As the fire crackled and the villagers danced, Nyx met Lumina's gaze. A silent promise flickered between them. Their journey wasn't over. They were champions, protectors, and the whispers were their call to action. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Nyx, with the help of the village elders, pored over the ancient tome, deciphering the secrets of unicorn magic and the forgotten languages of the champions. Lumina, under the watchful eyes of the elders, honed her abilities, learning to control the flow of her light with even greater precision. One starlit night, as they stood at the edge of the forest, the weight of their destiny settled upon them. With a heavy heart, Nyx said goodbye to her grandmother, promising to return victorious. The villagers, their faces etched with a mixture of pride and trepidation, gathered to see them off. Tears were shed, blessings whispered, and promises of safekeeping exchanged. With one final glance back at the village bathed in moonlight, Nyx and Lumina stepped into the unknown. The whispers grew louder, guiding them towards a distant horizon, a melody that spoke of forgotten forests, slumbering magic, and the ever-present battle between light and dark. Their adventure had just begun, a new chapter in a story that would echo through the ages, a testament to the courage of a young girl and the unwavering light of a unicorn, forever bound by the whispers of the forest. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing to stay updated with our latest stories, give us a like if you want to see more, and drop a comment below to let us know your thoughts.